Sean, you were one of the first people I thought of on Saturday. I knew you'd be there. Tell us what you experienced and what stands out to you now, 48 hours out.
So much, Megan, and your intro is fantastic. And you mentioned spirituality and faith and religion. And let me tell you, I've been on the stage with President Trump 5 times now. And from the moment that I walked into that rally, and people can call me crazy or whatever, but there was something different. There was something in the air. And and the reason why I know this is because on June 10th, 2006 in Afghanistan, and I've not really told this story before, I was blown up and wounded pretty seriously, fractured my skull, got blown up by a rocket propelled grenade. And I was unconscious, but I felt something. I didn't know if I had already died or what, but I felt like something was beckoning me to get back in the fight, something that like a spiritual presence that really felt like my grandfather, who I lost the day before I went to Afghanistan. When I was on that stage speaking, I felt that same damn thing. And people for 48 hours have been sending me images of the flag because I guess the wind had blown it and, kind of got it tangled, but sent me images of the flag from different angles, just convinced that there was something going on. It was surreal, call it an omen, say it was something spiritual. I don't know. Looked like an angel. And they fixed the flag moments before Trump came out on that stage. And again, I just talked to the president 30 minutes prior before he walked out. But there was something in the air. I mean, again, people call me crazy or whatever, but there was something different about that day. And you're right. President Trump, he called for this. Oh, hey, you got my favorite immigration graphic. I go off script. I tell my people, like, I hate this teleprompter stuff. And they get the graphic up there. He looks once because he's got these screens behind him. I was right there with him. And he looks twice. And then 6 shots ring out. And I could hear the bullets, just the trajectory of the bullets. I could hear them going supersonic, cracking through the air right above my wife and I. And I saw President Trump grab his ear. A second later, the Secret Service was on him. And then I heard thump, thump of the counter sniper team. And then another couple of rounds, which was almost simultaneous. And those rounds hit people directly behind me. It was a crazy, chaotic day. But I wanted to bring up the faith component because I don't care what people say, think. Everyone has different beliefs in this country, and we welcome that. But there was something in the air that day, and it felt different.
Wow. I believe you. And you were not only so close to the president, Sean, but you were close, as I understand it, to some of the other victims who were hit. The man who died is named Corey Comparatore, age 50, husband, father of 2. And his daughter, Allison, posted on, I think it's Facebook today, saying, in part, he was the best dad a girl could ever ask for. My sister and I never needed for anything. He could talk and make friends with anyone, which he was doing all day yesterday and loved every minute of it. He was a man of God, loved Jesus fiercely, and also looked after our church and our members as family. He died a real-life superhero. She says, the media is not going to tell you how quickly he threw my mom and me to the ground. They are not going to tell you that he shielded my body from the bullet that came at us. He loved his family. He truly loved us enough to take a real bullet for us. And I want nothing more than to cry on him now and tell him, thank you. Oh, my God. It's hard to read. This poor young woman. I don't know how old she and her sister are. They look like they're maybe in their mid to late teens. Firefighter already in public service. And gone too soon, age 50, just for going to a political rally to support a candidate. He jumped on his family. Sean, I want to ask you what you saw in terms of those around you and what your instincts were in terms of protecting those around you. It's no accident. You've been in combat.
Yeah, hundreds of times in firefights. And I'll tell you something. We often talk about the exceptional nature of this country and the fact that we are indeed an exceptional nation. But we're made exceptional not because necessarily of our political leaders, although some are inspirational and great, larger than life. Certainly Trump was that day. But our nation is exceptional because of the people. And Corey was one of those people. And there were so many patriots that day that stepped up to help other people. A pathway to a meaningful life is acts of service through others with nothing, no expectation of anything in return. And the people at that rally that day stepped up, Megyn, in a way that I'd never seen before. And, when the shots rang out, I hear the rounds crack overhead, and everybody in the crowd just kind of froze for a second. And I heard people saying they're just fireworks. And I said, they're not fireworks. It's a sniper. Everybody get down. Everybody get down. And people looked at me like I was crazy. I already had my wife. Been in lots of firefights in my day, but I've never been in one with my wife. But I got her down in the prone on the ground flat. And there was my friend JD Longo is the mayor of Slippery Rock, Marine combat vet. His wife was pregnant. And to my right was 95-year-old Mrs. Fogel, whose son is languishing in a Russian prison, has been completely ignored by the Biden administration. Everybody froze. And in that moment, one thought was going through my head, and that was trying to ascertain the position of the shooter. And within seconds, it was one of two locations, water tower or building. And then immediately I checked myself and I said, there's no way, because the Secret Service would almost certainly have those places on lockdown. And the next question was, you have to ascertain the location of the shooter to figure out whether or not you can move people and how you move people, right? How you use cover and concealment to get people out safely. Because the reality was Secret Service had their mission. They were on the president, right? And you had local law enforcement, you had SWAT and CERT teams that were looking for and on the shooter. Some were helping with casualty evacuation. But the truth is they were stretched way too thin. And the real question was, you had 30,000 plus people there, one exit. How the hell do you get those people out of there? And when you get shot at for the first time, everybody has this experience at some point. You sit down and you say to yourself, like, holy shit, someone just tried to kill me that's never met me before. They tried to wipe out everything that I was, that I am now, everything that I ever will be. And it takes a long time to wrap your mind around the existential enormity of that. And, not everybody in the crowd, I'm sure there had been people in the crowd that had been shot at before, but there were likely 30,000 people in that crowd that were experiencing something like that in that moment and needed to figure out a way to get them out of there. And the last thing I'll say is this, because I didn't see Trump fully stand because the Secret Service was around him, but I heard the crowd erupt in cheers. And I knew that President Trump had showed himself to the audience. But what does it say about the strength of the people whose life was in danger? And by the way, we were operating under the assumption, and when talking with the law enforcement as we were helping with evacuation and helping with the casualties and helping with wheelchairs, we were operating under the assumption that there were two shooters because there were two big pieces of machinery behind President Trump, and a hydraulic line on the one behind him had popped and broken. So we thought there might be another shooter out there. But every single person in that crowd stayed there with him. They didn't rush. They didn't stampede. They didn't hurt anybody. And damn it, like that right there is what makes this country exceptional. Not the evil shooter who tried to do something terrible that will forever have altered the trajectory of this nation. But the people in that crowd that day supported one another. And to me, that's a major part of this story.
Could not have said it better myself, Sean. That's exactly right. It's the old Mr. Rogers, look for the helpers. And the helpers were everywhere that day, from the emergency doctor who tried to save the life of this poor man as he was dying and then realized it was not possible, to those who didn't cause a panic. If they had caused a panic and run for their lives and there had been some sort of a massive herd trying to get out, people always get hurt and sometimes killed in those scenarios. And that is also to Mr. Trump's credit for refusing to exit that stage until he held up his fist to show everyone he was okay and reminding them what the mission is here, right? To fight for what you believe in.
That's leadership,
and fight
Megyn. That's
for
leadership.
This country.
That's what it means to be a leader. It to show people, to stand up in that moment where the rubber meets the road, to show them that you are there with them. And in that moment, Trump exhibited the leadership that this country desperately needs. And within 12 hours of someone trying to kill him, the guy's out there saying, no, we need to unite. We need to come. Think about that. That's leadership. And Trump proved it on that stage.
And by the way, a credit to all of those who helped those in the crowd who were older, who were scared, who didn't know what to do. And I've got to give a shout out to some of my colleagues in the press who were there The New York Times featured an interview with a guy named Doug Mills today, their photographer, and that man did a great job of taking the pictures that we continue to show. They are iconic photos, and he talks about how he was scared. He's covered presidents back to Reagan, and he's never been president for such a thing, and yet he continued to press his shutter, and that's the reason we have the images we have, and we know some of the trajectories of the bullets. I mean, it had to have been very scary for the photogs in particular, who were within a couple of feet of the president, but did their jobs. Do you ever think, how can I work this hard and still be in debt? The piles of overdue bills, the threatening phone calls, never having money to do anything. If you are trapped in debt, Done with Debt can be a way out. They have developed aggressive new strategies to end your debt permanently. Done with Debt stands between you and the harassing, annoying bill collectors. Who wants to deal with them? They tirelessly negotiate with your creditors to lower or even forgive what you may owe. And they do it all without bankruptcy or new loans. One client said one phone call saved us a fortune. I only wish we'd done this long ago. Done with Debt has unique strategies to get you out of debt faster and put more money in your pocket every month. But you need to hurry because some debt solutions are time sensitive and you don't want to miss out. Visit donewithdebt.com. Talk with one of their debt relief strategists for free. What do you have to lose except your debt? Go to donewithdebt.com. That's donewithdebt.com. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.